And this is how you develop a strategic mindset and a curiosity mindset. And so if you take anything away from this podcast, I highly recommend asking yourself why and developing that curiosity mindset.
By investing time and effort into yourself, building the self-confidence, improving communication, fostering the resilience, but being curious in your mindset and how we think of things, you're going to embark on a journey of continuous development and success in your career.
Welcome back to the Career Advancement Academy. We are so excited to have you here. We hope that you enjoyed last week's episode, the number one big thing stopping you from getting ahead in your career, which was communication and lack of professional communication. So if you haven't had a chance to watch that or listen to that, make sure to go check it out, either on YouTube where you get to watch Jack and I record our podcast, or go check it out on your favorite streaming platforms for your podcast. Send it to a friend or colleague who's looking to get ahead in their career. For today's episode, Jack, what are we talking about?
We're going to be looking at growing your career from a different perspective, and we hope to bring you some new ideas to improve your career. Today's topic: why your lack of personal development is keeping you from professional growth.
It's a little bit of a tongue twister, right? But both of them are really important, right? We here at the Career Advancement Academy, we're always talking about advancing your career. But what we have found, Jack and I, that the more that we invest in our personal development, the more we're able to advance in our careers and help other professionals advance in their careers as well. And so together, what we're going to do is unpack the powerful connection between the two of them, the personal and the professional growth, and how investing in your personal development, right, can actually translate to some outstanding achievements in your career. And this is often overlooked, right? Especially if you're a woman and you're taking care of so much in the household, in your careers. And taking care of yourself kind of falls to the lowest of priorities, right? And so when you start taking care of yourself, when you're honing your soft skills, when you're taking care of your personal development, this can actually lead to some significant breakthroughs in your professional life as well. So what are we going to do?
We're going to share some actionable ways to work on yourself, some things that we've implemented for ourselves, things we've helped others implement, and also things that we've seen and come across in our experience to help you unlock your full potential.
Yeah.
As professionals, we so often get tunnel vision, just like Kara mentioned. We focus on all the other things, and we, less importantly, focus on ourselves. And we're always so focused on getting technical skills and work-related knowledge. But a crucial aspect of professional success lies behind that personal development, and it actually plays a vital role in our journey to career success.
Yeah. And that's a really interesting point, right? We talk to professionals all day long, and in our business, what we're doing is we're helping them currently find that next career step, right, in the job search. And all the time we're hearing, what other certification do I need? What other degree do I need to put on my resume? And honestly, right now in the job search, experience trumps all, right? You have to have that experience where you can show your impact, you can show how you've made that achievement. But second, behind that is really those soft skills. How can you bounce back from negative experiences? We constantly are being faced in the news with negative news of recessions and things like that. And if you're a leader and you're going to be advancing into leadership throughout your career, having enhanced personal development, emotional intelligence, and being able to recover and have those soft skills, it's going to help you go further in your career as well. So before we dive into some actionable ways to work on yourself, let's explore some other benefits of how that personal development can really assist in your career as well.
Well, first one is enhanced self-confidence. Who doesn't want more of this, right? We all want more of it. Personal development empowers you to build self-confidence, which is why it's so crucial for career success. If you're able to understand your strengths, if you can understand also the areas that I need to work on, or those improvement areas, they become clearer because we know what our strengths are. And so our weaknesses are illuminated a little better. And then making choices how to work on ourselves become more impactful and intentional, because then we just need to set immediate and long-term goals to aim at. But by setting and achieving personal goals, you can gain a sense of self-assurance that translates into better performance in the workplace because you are crossing things off your list, you're gaining new skills, and you're not the same person you were yesterday.
What I love about the confidence and the emotional intelligence and the personal development is I always say knowledge is power, but knowledge of self is the most powerful. The more that you get to know who you are, how you react to different situations, what your trigger points are, where you come from, right? And how you're going to react in certain situations, that makes you more powerful than the person next to you who isn't aware of how they're going to react in certain situations, who isn't self-aware of how different people, different interactions, different situations are going to affect their emotional state, because those people become wild cards and they don't become as reliable, as trustworthy. And whereas you can navigate throughout the world being more self-aware, being more confident, and knowing and stepping in self-assuredly into situations, knowing exactly how you're going to react as much as possible, and being able to see clearly the opportunities in the next step forward. So self-confidence is huge, and that comes from really exploring and knowing who you are and developing that.
It's so important.
Yeah. What's the next one?
Next one is improved communication skills. And I mean, it might be a little partial to this one, but it's probably our favorite right now out of the ones on our list. And we're just always clearing the air in our relationship. We're always wanting to be on the same page. It's necessary in a relationship, but it's also double necessary for us because we run a business together. And effective communication is a cornerstone of success in any in any profession. Go back to last week's episode to understand why this is so important. But it's also key to any relationship, and working on those communication skills through personal development help you articulate ideas clearly in the workplace, listen more actively in communication with your colleagues, and collaborate more seamlessly on projects with clients, superiors, and whoever else is working on those deliverables with you.
I truly believe that half of the problems that we experience in our personal and professional lives can be solved by improved communication skills, right? Most of the time we walk into situations, conversations with built up expectations of how that person is going to react or what they're going to say. And instead, if we can go into it with a curiosity mindset, with an open, with lowered expectations and an open intentionality to really hear and actively listen to the other person, it minimizes miscommunication. We ask clarifying questions and we're able to move forward without any of those expectations or misgivings or any of that other stuff. And this works well, not just like Jack said, not just in the corporate world, but in your professional and personal lives too. So communication is absolutely critical. And so many times, if you look back on moments or projects in your personal life or your professional lives where things kind of went awry or like all of those misgivings kind of come up, it typically stems from miscommunication.
Always. It's always miscommunication.
Yeah. What's the next one?
The last one of the benefits that we have on this list, it's adaptability and resilience. Wow, this one we work with our clients on all the time. And because we're working with individuals in the job search, and you have to be adaptable and resilient when you're in a job search. But from a personal growth perspective, being adaptable and resilient means stepping outside your comfort zone and embracing change, right? It means not being comfortable all the time. And when we're comfortable, we're good at just being. We're never growing. We're never expanding. And it's not progress. So when we get caught in the motions of life and things are just happening and we're just going from task to task, so often with the things running in the background, we're not being intentional. And because we're not being intentional, it's really hard to be adaptable and resilient because we're just in execute mode. And sometimes we need to actually zoom out a little bit and see everything from the higher perspective so that we can understand why it's happening. It's not happening to us. Maybe it's happening for us. Maybe it's giving us an opportunity to be able to look at this from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm. Being adaptable and resilient is critical in this day and age. Look at the last few years with the pandemic, right? You can clearly see who is adaptable and resilient based on the last couple of years, right? Those who fought, everything that was being passed down from the pandemic, who it's like, this isn't even happening. Oh my gosh, all this other stuff. And those who accepted what was going on, adapted all this other stuff was a really great example of building that adaptability. And I would argue that all of us had to learn to be a little bit more adaptable and resilient just by nature of what's going on. But the fact of the matter is that because of everything that's happening in the world, job markets are changing, company cultures are changing, your personal life is changing, how we live is changing, right? With the rise of technology, with all of this other stuff. And because it's happening so fast, we are experiencing internally a lot of shifts, a lot of changes. And that comes with fear, that comes with having to deal with what that means for us inside. But that also means that your teams, your employees, your coworkers are also dealing with a lot of change, a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty. And so being emotionally intelligent, being able to work on that professional development and really being honest with yourself and going inside and saying, how do I feel about this? What does this mean? And how can I adapt, be resilient, and move forward to seek out the opportunities, seek out the next steps so that I can lead efficiently and be resilient throughout this next step? It's only going to serve you well in your professional life, but also in your personal life too, so that you can move forward with gratitude and with opportunities instead of staying stuck right where you are.
Robin Williams has a quote that talks about really never everybody's fighting an unseen war.
Yeah.
Everybody's always fighting an unseen war. So treat people with compassion. And that so often we project that outward, but we don't give it to ourselves.
Correct.
And so use that quote, but also reflect it as a mirror back to yourself. Give yourself the compassion of understanding that there might be more to the situation. Don't go immediately to judging yourself and beating yourself up for something that was out of your control.
And on the flip side of that too is most of the time people are reacting or communicating because of what's going on inside, not because of what you are presenting to them, right? It's because of insecurities or fear or whatever. And so approaching people with empathy and being able to see from their point of view is extremely helpful and helps with that communication point too.
So now that we've kind of gone through some of the benefits for making sure we have personal development to push our professional growth, let's talk about just some actionable steps and ways we can actually integrate this and help our professional growth kickstart. So first one is embrace lifelong learning. Really never stop learning. It's so important. And we always say it, but do we actually do it, right? We attend workshops, seminars, webinars. There's all kinds of certifications we can do to expand our knowledge and skills. However, do we actually do the things, or do we just kind of say, oh, that's interesting, we open the tab and we never actually execute? And reading books, reading articles by thought leaders, right? There's ways to broaden your interests and your perspectives that keep you ahead of the curve. But in order to do this, you have to be intentional and you have to seek it out, and you have to set some time aside in order to do this. And I even recommend, maybe if you're not sure what to do, what you would like to do, set some time aside on your calendar on the weekend maybe, and just kind of brainstorm for an hour and kind of think of what are possible things you could do to progress yourself in the lifelong learning stages, so that you can be intentional about growing your professional self and that going over to the professional side.
Love that. I think that's a fantastic one. It's plays into my favorite one, which we're going to talk about at the very end. But lifelong learning, right? Just because we're not in school doesn't mean that developing new skills, whether it's a tactical skill or a soft skill, it's only going to serve you well. Those who don't learn, don't embrace change, it becomes even harder when those changes are sometimes forced upon you, right? And we talk about that adaptability and that resilience. So embracing those learning is only going to make you more valuable in the marketplace as the job market changes, as technology changes, and it keeps that brain muscle more flexible too.
What's the next one, Kara?
Seek feedback and coaching. So what I really like about seeking feedback and coaching from colleagues, mentors, coaches, people that you really trust, is that when you embrace constructive criticism as an opportunity to grow and develop, it allows you to actually grow and develop, right? What I always recommend is, if you wouldn't take their advice, don't accept their criticism. That's going to be my piece of advice from who to seek out when it comes to accepting feedback, criticism, coaching, and advice, right? So if you would go to someone because, oh my gosh, I want their advice on something because they're living their best life, or I like how they're doing something, or I admire something, great, go to them for advice, but also go and get some feedback, ask for some criticisms. But if you wouldn't go to them for advice on finances, don't ask for criticism on your budget, right? So that's my rule of thumb. But we need people around us who are better at things than we are. Absolutely, we do, because that's how we get better. That's how we get held accountable. That's how we learn. And that's how we get pushed forward, because we're just competitive people by nature. And should be competitive with ourselves. How can we be better be better than we were yesterday, right? And continue to grow. It's tough. It's tough to have these conversations. It's tough to ask for feedback. But when you have a mentor that genuinely is interested, or a coach or a colleague who's genuinely interested in your success and your growth, those conversations, while they might be tough to hear, they are energy expanding. They are filled with growth, and they are exciting to have. What are some other ways that they can accept some feedback?
You can look for networking groups. You can find those on LinkedIn. You can find those on Facebook. You can find where the thought leaders are. Some people prefer Clubhouse. It really all depends on what your methodology of communicating with others is. If you like the posting, the Facebook and LinkedIn are great groups. Meetup is another way to be able to find others. If you're looking for trying to get better at something, maybe finding a friend who's better at a certain thing and partnering up with them and kind of letting them know, like, hey, I'd like to get better at this, and I'm really good at this. Maybe we can cross train each other and share ideas of how you implement this in your life, and I can do the same, so that we can kind of do a barter of certain skills. This is really what you want to be able to do to get that feedback. And we really need to make sure that we're getting ourselves in an environment where we're used to getting that feedback. But the next one is so key, because it's about building and nurturing the relationships that we have. We need to cultivate meaningful relationships both inside and outside of our industry. We need them in our life. We need people who are going to nourish us.
Yeah, and that kind of goes along with seeking that feedback, right? So when it comes to advancing in your personal and professional development, not only seeking feedback, right? I would do that with people who are close to you, that you trust, whether it's a mentor, a colleague, a friend, like Jack said. You have friends that are better at some things than you are, but you're also better at things that, maybe your friend isn't, right? But building and nurturing relationships in your industry, in your network, but also with those people, so that you can practice being your authentic self in alignment with who you are, and practice those lessons that you are learning, so you can share those lessons. One of the greatest things that I have experienced over the last couple of years is developing deep, nurtured relationships with friends, so that as I'm learning and growing in my personal development, I'm sharing that with those friends, and they're sharing with me, so that we can grow together. But networking is also a great way to build your personal development and your professional development together. It helps with your communication skills. It helps with your relationship building skills. It helps you get curious. It helps you ask the right questions. It helps you find opportunities, and it also builds your professional relationships. And so why I like these two together is that as you are building those relationships and you're networking together, you can also ask for feedback, right? If it's from someone that you really admire, and build those mentorship relationships as well.
I love that. I think that kind of leads to the next one, which is talking about prioritizing self-care, really making sure, and we've learned this one the hard way. Take it from us. Don't wait until your body tells you that you need to change course. Taking care of your physical and mental well-being is so important, and exercising regular, getting enough rest, practicing mindfulness. These are just some ways to be able to interject and inject that into your process and into your schedule. But there's a ton of ways that you can do different things to be able to have more of this, like meditation, journaling, breath work. There's tons of different breathwork options for you out there. There's one called the Wim Hof method that's really great, that allows people to control their mind and their bodies. If it works for you, intermittent fasting is also an option. Yoga, kickboxing, joining a gym. These could all be examples. Even meal prepping, right? That can be self-care because you're taking care of yourself for the rest of the week. A healthier you translates to an improved focus and productive version of you in your professional life.
Along with that, besides doing things that help your body and your mind, self-care includes setting boundaries, right? Setting boundaries, time management. And we've talked about this in some of our other episodes you can check out, but we really want to make sure that when it comes to prioritizing self-care, it means putting yourself first when it comes to managing your time, managing your boundaries, managing your energy, and managing your body, and managing the way that you work in your energy and your time so that you put yourself first, so that you can intentionally be in the meetings, the conversations, the activities that you want to be in because you've taken care of yourself first. That's what we mean by prioritizing self-care. The next one is pretty self-explanatory, but set personal goals. When you're setting goals, whether it's, I want to get a certain place in my career, I want to take on these certain amount of hobbies, I want to do these certain amount of things for self-care, it helps you stay accountable to those goals. It helps you achieve them. It has it put down on a piece of paper, right? But you can then see a measurable distance in which you have come versus where you were at the very beginning. And so a lot of times when it comes to personal development, even professional development, we forget this goal setting, because how can you go somewhere unless you set a destination, right? So that's pretty self-explanatory, but it must be mentioned because goal setting is important.
And one key thing that I want to just add on there, we often view ourselves as a recent past version of ourselves. So if we are not keeping track of our goals, where we were, to be aware of where we are now, the brain is not going to be able to understand the journey that you've been on, because it's still remembering you as that past version of yourself. So really writing things down, taking account of the journey that you've been on, will make it easier as you continue to progress towards future goals and achieving those.
The final one, and my favorite one for personal development, is developing a curiosity mindset. What do I mean by this? What I mean is to start developing in your mind the automatic reaction of asking why, right? Getting curious. Far too often when we live in a fear-based mindset or a scarcity mindset, or a mindset where we're a little bit shy, where we don't really want to be doing personal development because it's a little scary, right? When we do personal development, I'm not going to lie, it is going to be tough because you're facing things like, hey, why am I triggered by these types of things? Why do I get upset when people say certain things, or when I'm asked to do certain things, or when I'm encountering these different types of situations? When you do self-development and personal development, you're going to uncover the answer to those things. And it's not always so easy or so fun. But when that happens, your brain sometimes goes into this protection mode where your brain is automatically going to think negative thoughts because it's going, warning, 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 scary, back away, like protect ourselves, right? And that's okay. Your brain is trying to protect yourself, but you are smarter and in control of your body and your brain. And so practicing, when those negative thoughts happen or those scary thoughts happening, the next thing to say, why? Why am I thinking that? Why is that my first reaction? And getting curious with yourself and going back and saying, when was the first time I started feeling that way? Why am I reacting that way? Do I still need to react that way? Or is that maybe a past version of myself that's reacting that way, that's coming up, that needs some attention, that I need to explore? that might be your first step. But as you develop this curiosity mindset, eventually your first thought might not be a negative, self-defeating thought. It might be a curious thought. This is going to not only serve you in your personal growth, but it's going to serve you in your professional growth significantly, because instead of in a meeting where someone proposes an idea, instead of shooting it down immediately or saying, oh, that's not going to work, you're going to go, huh, let's explore that. Why did you bring that up? Why could that work? How could that work, right? All of a sudden, your brain is going to start thinking of possibilities, of opportunities, of next steps. And this is how you develop a strategic mindset and a curiosity mindset. And so if you take anything away from this podcast, I highly recommend asking yourself why and developing that curiosity mindset.
I think this was a fantastic conversation. And I hope for everyone listening, you understand that by investing time and effort into yourself, building the self-confidence, improving communication, fostering the resilience, but being curious in your mindset and how we think of things, you're going to embark on a journey of continuous development and success in your career.
In fact, if I would love to hear, please hop over to our YouTube channel. It's Optimized Career Solutions on YouTube. And you can find it on the description in your podcast, wherever you're getting this. Put in the comments, tell us, what are you doing for your personal development and how is that translated into your professional development? I would love for you to continue the conversation in our comments. And remember, self-care, personal growth, all of these things, it's important for your career. It's not self-indulgent at all. They're catalysts, right, for remarkable achievements in your career, in your professional life.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Tune in next week for episode number 9, 5 ways your grind is killing you.
Ooh.
If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment to subscribe to our podcast. Leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcasting platform. Your feedback means a ton to the Dennison family and helps others discover the Career Advancement Academy. Until then, keep investing in yourself, nurturing your aspirations, and striving for excellence in both your personal and professional life. Thank you for tuning in to the Career Advancement Academy.